Hey, Faith, do you like my new gun?
Dad, that's not a gun.
It isn't?
No, it's a screwdriver.
The bloke at the shop told me it was a gun.
Well, the guy at the shop was telling you Porky Pie's that.
Well, I'll be. I could have sworn that was a gun.
The Sirens of Audio. Screwing your Sonic since 2020. Excellent.
G'day, audiophiles. This is the Sirens of Audio, the show that explores the universe of Doctor Who in the audio medium. My name's Dwayne.
And my name is Philip. G'day, Dwayne. G'day, audiophiles.
G'day, Philip. That was very subdued. Am I subdued? Am I this week?
Well, it was feeling very professional and serious, so I thought I'd follow suit.
Thank you very much. No, I've got sleeping kids nearby, so I'm trying to keep
Not
it down.
wake them.
Yeah, that's it. So this week on the show is a very exciting week because this is also a guest that we've had live before in Charlie Hayes. Wendy Padbury's daughter is going to be joining us for a chat virtually this time. So nice memories of Charlie from the live events in February.
Oh, we had a wonderful time with Charlie, and yes, we had some nice meals out and some nights at the theatre and a charming time. So, yeah, having Wendy and Charlie come out in February was just a blast, and getting to know them both very well. And yeah, we got to spend lots of time together, do lots of stuff. And yeah, I'm really glad Charlie came out because she really added a lot more joy to the thing, and just getting to know her. So yeah, we had a quick chat with Wendy as she was going out to the gardening. So she sends her love to everyone.
We did.
As she left Charlie behind to hit the garden.
Very good. All right, we're going to get to the interview with Charlie very soon. But before we do that, Philip, do you know what?
What, Dwayne?
It's time to jump down the rabbit hole. Here we go. You know, Philip, I've not done a jump up the rabbit hole in some time. It's getting to be time to do that. I think. Finally worked it out. All right. Now, I'm going to talk about something that's kind of relates to the new TV Doctor Who that we've had some new episodes hit the globe this weekend, because this is the first time ever that Doctor Who had been sort of simultaneous around the world, simultaneously dropped as on streaming around the world. Of course, it hit the BBC about a day later, probably 18 hours later, I think. And around about later that day on the Saturday night anyway. So
it very much dropped for America, because I think it dropped at 7 o'clock their time.
Yeah. Now, you and I have talked offline about this, and if people have heard our reviews of the more recent episodes before, yes, I'm not hugely enamored of these episodes. I'll put it that way. But what it got me doing was it got me noticing, and I think a lot of fans have been noticing and getting involved in the social network commentary. So my question today is, what is social networking's sort of role in Doctor Who these days, and should it be bringing fans together? Because it certainly doesn't bring fans together now. It seems to be creating more of a divide than anything else. People love it, hate it, and if you're on either camp, you're throwing abuse at each other. Have you noticed that, Philip?
I think,
or have you been avoiding it?
No, I've noticed some. I don't follow a lot of negative stuff, and so I will actually block people if it's just too hateful and too awful. I tend to block it, and that's both extremes too. It's just not one side. Um, I think social media just doesn't know. It's all about dividing, and the algorithm is all about you'll get more hits the more hateful you are. I think it's sad that if people are saying they're not, if people say they're not liking something, they're being attacked for not for being homophobic or being racist or being, and so there's people
I
who have
copped it.
valid.
I copped it
Oh,
just
did
for
you?
making a comment saying I don't like it.
Oh, okay. I didn't see it. There you go. I missed that, Dwayne. Um, yeah. So I think people are misunderstanding why people are having issues with the program. Um, I mean, I'm a lot more positive about it than you are, and I'm accepting the fact that it's not made for me, and I can live with that. I know that other people are struggling more with that. Um, and I think you asked the question recently about who is it made for.
Hmm.
And I think when the last two episodes have come out, one of the things that it's been obvious seeing on social media is no one's actually sure at the moment who it's being made for, because all camps are having issues with different bits and pieces of it. So I'm looking forward to Stephen Moffat. Well, by the time this comes out, no, oh yeah, Stephen Moffat episode will be maybe out, but no,
On the
people
day
have
this
watched it.
on the day this is
It
released,
comes out.
it will have been out. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think lots of people are holding out for that Stephen Moffat episode.
Hmm.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know whether it's whether or not. I do think the show. I think since it's Wild Blue Yonder, they've a deliberate choice at the moment to go more fantasy strange. So I think at the
Yeah, but
moment
my question relates more to the the role social media has to play in Doctor Who. Is it important? Are the other makers of the show leaning into it, or is it seemingly out of control? And the reason I bring this up is because I was on social media and I came across another TV show that everyone was talking about. I don't know if you've seen it, Philip, but it's called Baby Reindeer. Have you seen
yes,
that
I have
show?
seen it. Yep.
And I only came across it because of social media. People were talking about. I think the real life character that was portrayed in the show was being interviewed by Piers Morgan, and that popped up, and I went, "Oh, that seems interesting." So I went and watched the show, binged it. It's an excellent, excellent show. But all the social media,
Not for
uh,
young people, not for the faint-hearted. Just
absolutely not for young people. That's for sure. I'll throw that
yeah,
in there.
and not for people. Yeah, research it before you watch it, because there's a lot of people who will find one episode in
There
particular
are some
very
very
distressing.
disturbing elements in it,
There are.
which and I think it's handled in a very interesting way. So there's much more to the show than what social media has made it out to be now, because there was a big focus on, well, because what happened was that at the start of the show it says this is a true story. So what happened was people on the internet tried to find the real life person
Yep.
in the story, and they tracked her down and started through social media abusing her and harassing her, stalking her, basically what she was
Yep.
doing to the guy in the show. And so the big focus is on that. But it's interesting because if there wasn't the big focus on that, I may not have even noticed that show at all. So I wonder if all this stuff that's going on in fandom will get picked up by people casually and they'll, out of curiosity, just like I did, go in and watch the show. The big
I
difference
don't.
for me personally is that Baby Reindeer, the show, was totally gripping and engaging, and it I actually watched it pretty much in one go. Whereas I don't know if the curious would go into Doctor Who and stay as an audience member. But my question is on, would it cause someone to go in and check these out of curiosity like I did?
I don't think Doctor Who needs to reach people quite well. Most people already are aware of its existence.
Mm.
So social media, certainly the showrunner and Russell T would be hoping social media would be promoting the show, letting people know it's on, dragging people there. But in terms of where it's headed to, in terms of the vitriol and dividing, I don't think anyone would want that.
Mm.
So Bay Randy, I mean, shows take on a life of their own, and Bay Randy's done a season. It may get a second season, but in 10 years' time, it will simply be something that happened in past. Whereas Doctor Who is a program that has lived on now for 61 years, is in all likelihood, unless some fans get their way and it all dies until heap, going to keep going for a lot longer. It hasn't got an end date in particular. So social media is playing a different sort of role there. I'm certainly distressed and disturbed and saddened by how social media is behaving. I think there's nothing wrong with people having their opinions, but I think people are very nasty about it, and I don't think people are realistic in terms of being actually judging what's there. And
And
so
I've actually found it quite saddening. I wouldn't say depressing, but it has saddened me because I cast my mind back to not that long ago, only 20 years ago, a bit over 20 years ago, before the new series came back. And, I was in Sydney. We were having tavern meetings at the time, and there were people coming at the tavern meetings. I remember us. We sat around these long tables, all these fans with all these different diverse backgrounds, but we were all sitting around together, debating with each other, talking with each other, but it was all friendly. So there were people from that you would class these days as having very left-leaning views, and you would have extremely conservative views there as well, all on the same table. And I remember that so clearly, and I'm sure you do too, Philip. That's how it was back in those days. And social media has just destroyed that. If you're on either one of those camps, you're at war online now. And I really miss those days where we could all sit around with all those differences and just get on.
So, I mean, we talked to the division isn't left or right. It's who currently likes it, who doesn't. And it's been interesting watching the diversity of people who are liking it, the diversity of people who aren't liking it. And it's certainly not a left right thing that people are reacting to. I'm quite amazed by who is reacting to what and what sides they're on. And people that I thought would hold a particular view aren't holding the view I would have thought. So it is complex. It's certainly, it doesn't seem like a program people just sit and watch and enjoy anymore. There's just so much people feel like they have to argue about everything, and I think I mean, I think people. Well, my reaction to the first two episodes was adequate. We haven't had two classics. We haven't had a classic in those two episodes. They were fine to watch. For me personally, I found them fine to watch. Mostly okay. There was plot things I didn't like. I thought there was some dreadful overacting that I really didn't like. There's some direction stuff I didn't really like. But things that sorry about the spoilers, but the song and dance, I enjoyed that. Whereas I know other people hated it with a passion. And so it's interesting. The Space Babies, I didn't mind. Other people hated the Space Babies. So the diversity of opinion in terms of what people are liking, but it's just so strong in their opinions. And as I said, the sad thing is just people attacking people. And if you are being critical at all, being hit with being homophobic, being transphobic, being just anything rather than the fact that I just didn't like it, as opposed to and there might be good reasons why you didn't like it. Some of the plot things that didn't hold together. I mean, I'm having issues with the fact the Doctor keeps running away. Like, what's going on there? Why is the Doctor running away? And I know there's reasons given in script wise, but when Ruby says to the Doctor, something's wrong, you're running away. Well, that's all she's ever seen. Like in every episode, he's run away so far.
It's a pretty big plot hole.
Yeah, which to me just doesn't make sense. But anyhow,
But there are also little. It's funny, social media, because it's so almost depressing, saddening. I said, but I picked up a little something off social media. A comment today. Someone said, "Has no one picked up the fact that in the tune, there's always a twist in the end? It's the same kind of tune as the giggle. So that little motif at the end of the line, there's always a twist at the end. So I thought that was interesting too. People pick up all these different things. So in amongst all the vitriol, there are still those kind of tavern-like discussions that are still in there. If you dig around and find them, that's the kind of things we used to talk about It's
Like
happened. And
the same actress has been in every episode. I hadn't picked up on that until
Yeah.
someone in social media pointing out the fact that she's been just a tiny little part, but in every single episode. And going,
Yep.
okay, that is going to be significant. I'm assuming it's going to be significant. But so that's bizarre to have this, So there's things like that I don't pick up on, and so I'm really appreciative of when people. I love it when people are doing the thorough analysis, and people are. And so I don't care if people, if people are going to say they love Shruti's performance or they don't like things about his performance, as long as they argue why, I'm happy. And it may not be the view I want to hold. I mean, I'm enjoying Shruti's performance, but I just want to know why people are saying what they're saying. And if you want to back up what you're saying, 100% behind you, even if it's a view that I totally disagree with. Just back it up and explain why you have the view you do and why you're holding it. And and quite often I'll have a totally opposite view for the same reason. Someone's saying they're loving something in particular. I'm saying, well, actually, for the reasons you're saying, I don't like it, but that's okay. But yeah, if we can't be civil, it's a big problem. But I'm not sure we are capable of being civil anymore on social media. I think it is just
it's a bit out of control,
divide.
isn't it?
Yeah.
I just think if the majority of people can't control themselves with their particular stand and someone else having a different idea, maybe they should switch.
Doctor Who, Master. My dearest friends, I write this letter in the hope that you will do me the greatest of favours. On the 23rd of this month, I would be honoured if you would join me here in my home for dinner. It is 10 years since my arrival in this town, an anniversary I feel I cannot possibly ignore. You've both treated me with such kindness and friendship. For the most part, the last 10 years have been more than I could ever have hoped for. Of course, recently, Perfugium has become a darker place. But for one night at least, let's forget about the darkness and spend a pleasant evening enjoying good food, fine wine, music, perhaps even some parlour games. Please help me to make my birthday, if you can call it that, a night to remember. A night to remember. So, Jacqueline, Victor, I look forward to a pleasant and relaxing evening in your company. Yours, Dr. John Smith.
For those who were able to get along to one of the events this year with Wendy Padbury, you'd know that accompanying her was her daughter. And we're very lucky to have big Finnish actress, an actress in her own right, Charlie Hayes. Charlie, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Listen, it's really great to see you. And of course, we've been doing a bit of catching up and there's more to do. I'm always lovely to catch up with a bit of the Hayes gossip. How's life been since you got back to the beautiful shores of the UK?
Well, it's all right. I mean, nothing really compares to the great time that you showed us in Australia. So it is, we felt very smug being in Australia. We had such a nice time with you. And everything sort of pales into insignificance here. It's fine. It's nice to be back. But, no, it's good. It's been busy. And actually, with Mum having, do you know that Mum lived in France for many years? Well, she... I think since coming back, it's sort of facilitated her to be able to go to lots of conventions in a way that she wouldn't have been able to do so frequently in France. So yeah, so it's great. So we've both been busy, both been working lots. So yeah, it's been busy and it's been lovely, but it's no Australia.
Well, that's okay. Most people can't get here, so I'm glad you guys managed to come out. It was certainly a great joy spending time with you both.
Yeah,
do you want to tell us a little bit about what your childhood was like? What was it like where you grew up and be a child?
Well, it's a busy family. There's lots of us, and it's a theatrical family. So with Mum and Dad both being actors, I don't know necessarily. There was a lot of fun always, and a lot of chaos in terms of comings and goings, such as the life of an actor, really, I suppose. So mum or dad were always off doing things, which I always thought was quite exciting. It felt like, I don't know, it felt quite exciting. It wasn't so extravagantly theatrical that we had sort of, you know, stages around our houses, but around our house, but it was fun, and it felt slightly different. It felt slightly out of step with maybe the 9 to 5 upbringing that most friends had, I think. And so yeah, it meant that you were always going to the theatre, and you got an experience of seeing filming going on and those sorts of things. It was always really exciting.
At what point did you realize things were a bit different with your parents, and they weren't just mum and dad to you, they were also well known to lots of other people?
Well, I realized I saw dad last week, and I realized there's not a day gone by that I've been in dad's company out in public where somebody hasn't stopped him, which blows my mind. It's so casual and so normalized but it's still really odd, because it's not like he's a superstar that's being hounded on the streets and chased down the road by paparazzi. It's more like at the post office counter, when somebody at the end of serving dad will say, "Oh, and it's lovely to meet you, Mr. Hayes," and then we'll say what they've seen him on. And I'm used to that that level of fame of theirs. I don't know if I'd referenced to you when I saw you in Australia, but I remember I'd always experienced it with dad, and not really with mum. Dad would, not really with mum. Until one day we were stopped in the street, and somebody came up quivering and said to mum, "You're Wendy Padbury, aren't you?" And she said, "Yes." And he said, "I'm the biggest Doctor Who fan in the whole world, and I can't believe it, and I can't believe it. Can I have your autograph? I think it was before selfies. Can I have your autograph?" She said yes, and I think I was about 13 or 14 and was absolutely dumbfounded and thought this whole thing was madness. And then he said to me, "What's it like having your mum as your mum?" I was like, I don't know. It's like having your mum as your mum. Like, what a question. I don't it's just like mum. She makes dinner. We have quite a nice time. It's mum, isn't it? So I don't know. I don't know that it ever felt so, like I say, it wasn't like having superstars as parents, but there was a bit of difference, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, your father, Melvin Hayes, was huge in Australia because of it. Half hot mum, which was what is known for here, and I know a lot of other stuff in the UK.
Yeah.
So you've got these two parents. Your mum's you're not really seeing hugely, but your dad's got a much bigger career in some ways, often the way with the men. At what point did you say, "Whoa, that's the life I want. I want to be an actor"?
It felt, I think always, I don't know, I think always. I just presumed that's what I don't think I considered anything else. That could have been laziness on my part, but I don't think I thought about anything else. It just seemed really exciting. It's something I wanted to do. And then you do your school plays and various bits and bobs. And when I was 11, I'd auditioned and got down to the last 2 of a film called, I want to say, Damage, which had Jeremy Irons in it, and I think Miranda Richardson, and I'd auditioned for the part of their daughter, and I'd never done an audition before, and it was for this film, and I just went through round after round of auditions, and obviously it was really exciting, but it didn't have the same fear and anxiety that it has when it's actually your career. So I found it brilliant. And then I got down to the last 2 and didn't get the job. And I realized that I was really, really, really devastated, because I'd just been skipping along and having a great time. And I did one other audition when I was around that age, for for a TV series that never never ended up being made. And that was an audition done with in groups at some sort of what felt like a big dance hall or something. And we had to get into groups and play games. And I say we were about 11, and so we were running around playing tag and doing various things. So I just thought it was a brilliantly fun thing. I didn't really get it. And then we had to get into pairs and do improvisations, and we were given about 5 minutes to come up with something. And I remember coming up with an improvisation whereby I was telling my best friend that I was pregnant with her. I was pregnant with her boyfriend, and the casting directors almost died laughing, and I didn't think it was funny, and I was crying and I was emoting all over the place. I had absolutely no sense that me being 11 would have been really quite an issue on so many levels, and that also everyone else's improvisations were more about, shall we go to the shops, and do you want to play a game? And mine was an entire melodrama, and I did get the job for that, and that was really fantastic. And that was a couple of weeks filming, and Mum was actually my chaperone on that. And we made a pilot, and it never got made. And I loved it. And Dad said, don't do it. Don't do any part of it. And by that time, I'd already got the job. And he said, step away. It's the worst career in the world. Don't do it. But I did it anyway, and I loved it. And then I just knew that as soon as I finished school, that's what I'd want to do.
So finished school. Did you go to drama school after that?
So I'd auditioned for drama schools, and then I got a job with the Stephen Joseph Theatre in Scarborough, which is Alan Ayckbourn's theatre, if you know Alan Ayckbourn, playwright. And they offered me a contract, which was a year's contract, actually just over a year it ended up being. And it was 7 plays in different spaces, some that he'd written, some old, some new, one in the restaurant at lunchtimes. They've got 2 different theatres there, one in the Round, one in the Proscenium Arch, and then one of the shows transferred to the National Theatre. So for a year, it ended up being a year and a half's work, if not a bit more. And that was, I don't know how you could get a better drama school. I didn't go to drama school, but I'd had this sort of wildly exciting, thrown in the deep end, and it had gone from, I think we did the Doll's House, and I played the first play that I did was the Doll's House. And there's a little known part of a character called Helena who runs across the stage occasionally lighting a candle and scurries off. I think I had about 12 lines in it or something, but I was so scared of setting foot on stage in this professional theatre that it was absolutely perfect. And the next show I did was an Ayckbourn play, and I played the lead in that, called The Boy Who Fell into a Book. And I think I must have been about 21, and I played Kevin, a 9-year-old boy who goes through all these adventures, jumping in and out of different storybooks. It's him and his favorite detective. And it was fantastic. So I was ready after I'd done my scurrying across stage in a bit of a period drama. Then I was ready for it.
A bit of kids' voices later, but we'll talk about that soon. Who was doing the directing during that? With different directors?
Different directors, but Alan Ayckbourn does all the ones that he has written, and then
so he directs his own works as well.
Yeah.
Wow.
He
okay.
prefers to direct his own work. I think when it's his own production, he does his own directing.
Okay. I mean, I adore Alan Ayckbourn, and I've seen lots of his work out here. He's very inventive and just so creative in terms of how he uses characters and space.
He's exactly. It's so exciting, and that's what. Like I say, the first one that I did with him, jumped in and out of storybooks and in and out of. It was playing with time, and at one point we jumped in. I think it was you're in Kidnapped, and then the next time you're in a chess for beginners, and you end up on the stage turns into a chessboard, and your moves across the chessboard are fighting off the baddies. And really exciting how inventive he is with time and space. And he did say to me that the one story that he wished he'd written was Groundhog Day. He wished he'd got in there first because he just loved that premise so much. But yeah, that's his real. Yeah, he really messes around with space and time.
That's been turned into a musical. Oh, we went and saw it together.
Yes, we did. I've still got the songs going round in my head.
It was a good night out. I did some drama at university. Actually, did a graduate diploma in expressive performing arts, and my first drama assignment was blocking table manners and having to block the whole table scene. And where people,
really?
And so because there's no blocking for that, you're just told. That you've got these scenes where they're all acting, and someone's on a small chair, but the way they pass things, so it became a logic puzzle working out who was sitting where with whom, and then performing it. And there was
that's exactly why he does his own directing. And part of the rehearsal process, of course, is where you want to feel your way into the character, and what would my character do this, and would my character do that, and when you're in rehearsals and you might feel spontaneously, I think my character would, on this line, would walk over to there and pick up this prop. And he says, well, your character doesn't do that. Your character actually goes over there and sits there. And so he actually has it all blocked before you even get to rehearsals.
Yes, he just hides the stage directions.
He has it blocked so intensely that you're handed a rehearsal schedule on day one, and he already knows which scenes you will be rehearsing 3 weeks on Thursday afternoon, and you would know exactly your call time, rather than normally in rehearsals where you feel your way and the director at the end of the day decides whether you need to be first in or second in or whatever it is. Not without that. It's so organized, but it's all been worked out in his head.
Wow. Now, we mentioned before about the daughter of Wendy Padbury, so well-known to Doctor Who fans. At what point did Doctor Who play any understanding at all in your mental scheme of life?
Right. Mum doesn't believe me, but I used to watch the 5 Doctors when I had a day off school, like if I was off school sick. Dad was really good about showing me old films, his favorite old films and old movies, interspersed with many old episode of something that he was in. And Mum had absolutely no interest in sitting me down and putting me in front of things that she'd been in. But but there were videos on our shelves of stuff that Mum had done. She did something called Over to You, which I remember, which I think was a kids' show. So I did used to watch that, and I think next to it on the shelf was the 5 Doctors. So I didn't necessarily. So Doctor Who didn't necessarily figure as being anything different from the other kids stuff of hers that I was watching. And then I think when I very first went to a convention with her, I could not believe the turnout, because I remember her saying to me, I've been invited to a Doctor Who convention. And I said, well, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what that is. And she said, well, people are going to want me to talk about Doctor Who stuff and have photos and maybe sign some things. I said, you're having me on. I haven't. That's not true. What with you? What they're going to do that for? Who's going to be there? What are they going to ask you to be in photos? She was going, yes, I'm a very big deal. I'm a huge star. I don't think I've told you that. And I said, what? They're going to go where? What? So people will just be there, and then they'll just, and then you'll go there and they'll be pleased. And she was going, yes, and this is getting offensive now. But she said, but it's been so long since I've seen it, I need to watch it. So we had a weekend of watching it, and I really laughed. And I don't know which episode it was, but there's one where she does a full-on, it's not going to give it away, I'm not going to be able to describe it properly, but she does a full-on fight with a guy or a character that's like
the carcass.
Right, okay, that's
the
like 4
robber.
times their size. Does she fling him over her shoulder, or she does
Twice.
something?
Yeah, she flings him twice over. Yeah.
Well, I had to pick myself up off the floor from laughing for that. I thought it was absolutely hysterical. But by the time I'd finished, I mean, I was absolutely gripped by it. I thought it was amazing. I couldn't believe it was. I was really excited. I was really impressed once I'd got over I can't believe that's mum. That's hilarious. So that was probably, yeah, about 13, 14 of having a full marathon Doctor Who session. It was brilliant.
That's excellent. Excellent.
Yeah.
Now, you talked about the fact that you did about 18 months on stage. You got this amazing opportunity with the Ackborn. Where did you move after that? What did you start doing?
So it was a mixture, really. I got a TV series. I think that's why it's so. I think it's really strange when your career goes from just like, sure, there's auditions, and sure, I seem to get the parts, and yeah, I'll be here, and if I'm not here, I'm doing this. And I zigzagged between TV and stage all the time. There was a TV series called Wycliffe, which was a detective series, and I played his daughter in that, Wycliffe's daughter, and I think I did that for about 3 series.
Were you in every episode or just now and then?
No, I think I was in about, I think maybe it was about 8 episodes a series, and I might have been in about 3 to 4 each series. And it was that interspersed with, I did a lot of work at the West Yorkshire Playhouse in Leeds, and actually the first show I did there was a J.B. Priestley play called Johnson over Jordan, which Patrick Stewart was in. And well, we can date it because it was when the Twin Towers collapsed. We were up doing that, and Patrick's son was in it as well, who I became great friends with, and whose daughter is called Charlie. I'm not necessarily sure whether it's to do with me. And actually, Dan, Patrick's son, lived in New York, and you know, should have been in New York when the Twin Towers came down. So yeah, that's obviously a very firm memory. And I did this play, Johnson over Jordan, and then the following year at the same theatre, I did 3 years at this theatre, 1 year after the other. The following year, I did Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, where we had Patrick Stewart as a hologram, which he'd obviously pre-recorded when we were doing Johnson over Jordan, and the whole show was done holographically. So we had this giant image of Patrick's head, which we had to do a lot of acting to, which cut out one time, and that was not a lot you can do about that. Not a lot you can do about that, apart from run off stage, wishing that your mic had been turned off before you swore about it. So yeah, that was great fun. And then the 3rd year there, I did an Alan Ayckbourn play, which wasn't directed by Alan, which was a totally different experience, strange experience, and lovely too. But yeah, felt very, very different. It felt really odd.
So when did you move into doing some voice work? Was Big Finish the first voice work you did?
So the first time I did a voiceover, the first, I think it's the same as when, I think it was around the same time as doing all of this, I had an audition for a voiceover, and I had absolutely no idea of what the hell it is that you do. So I just walked into a studio. It's for a Toyota commercial. I did not get it, but also I was about 21 at the time. And I just walked in, and there was a studio, and there was some headphones and a glass of water and a pencil and some paper. So I was just like, okay, I guess I put the headphones on, and then I heard some people talking to me. I was like, okay, right, well, I guess I'll drink the water. And they don't really want you to do that into the microphone. So I stopped doing that, and then picked up the pen and paper and thought, all right, better start writing notes about something. Did this audition, and now this is the most narcissistic thing I'll say, but you know how nobody likes the sound of their own voice. I was so excited when they played. I didn't get the job. I was so excited when they played it back, because it sounded like a commercial. I didn't get the job, but it sounded really professional. Of course, it was in a professional recording studio, and I loved it, and I couldn't believe it. So I thought I would love to be able to properly get into it.
So you thought, I sound good.
I didn't think myself has got an amazing voice, but I did think I sounded pretty great. I couldn't believe it. It sounded like everything it sounded really professional, and I loved it. But I moved to Australia about I think I moved to Australia in 2009 for about a year, and I wasn't able to have a work permit, so I wasn't able to work. So instead, I bought all the equipment to set up a recording studio and learned how to self-produce and ended up I was in Australia for about a year and spent months and months listening and studying up and working out how to write a show reel and how to record it and edit it and everything, so that when I came back to the UK, it was already sent off and I could try and get myself a voice agent in the UK. Which when I got back to the UK, I had already got a voiceover agent, but I wasn't really getting any work beyond English as a foreign language stuff, which is great, but I was hoping to branch out a bit. And I wrote to all the voiceover agents and they said no thanks, which is par for the course. Until one day, a friend of mine who's a researcher said they wanted somebody to be part of a focus group about dishwashers. I live a really fascinating life, in case you are in any doubt. And I went to this focus group, and the guy that was running it said, "You're chatty. Would you do another one? But could we do it at your house? And it would be to get you to cook fish fingers and talk about them." So I said, "Yeah, that's odd, but yeah, I'll do that." Anyway, they came round. I cooked up some fish fingers and some frozen vegetables, and talked about all these different products. And at the end of it, the guy who'd been silently sitting on my sofa typing away and writing away had said, "Why are you so confident in front of a camera?" And I said, "Well, I'm very good at fish finger cooking." He said, "No, you're chatty. Why are you so chatty? And what do you know?" And I said, "I'm an actress and a voiceover artist." And he said, "Why? Who's your voiceover agent?" I thought, this is odd for a copywriter I didn't know. He said, "Who's your voiceover agent?" And I said, "Well, I'm with this person." He said, "Oh, you shouldn't be with them." And I said, "Well, I'm trying to be with." He said, "Who do you want to be with?" And I said, "Who's asking?" And he said, "I'm a commercial radio producer." I was like, "Ah." And then he said, "Who do you want me to put you in touch with?" And that's how I got my fantastic agent. And sort of the rest is history. And they got me into lots of a real variety of stuff, lots of commercials and I do lots of ADR on films, which I was doing, in fairness to my previous agent, I was doing before, where you'll take a film like Harry Potter, and they've got a big scene where, well, let's put it this way. There were some gaps in Emma Watson's recording of Hermione doing some screams in a fight with a dragon. So rather than pay for her to come in, they'll get someone like me to do it. And they have, same as, might be a James Bond scene where there's an explosion or something in a restaurant, but they need all the extras to be dubbed for all their background chatter before they start screaming. A lot of screaming in films. So I do lots of that on a million different things. And I think you had asked me maybe whether I was in Flushed Away, or maybe we talked about that before. Yeah. The problem is that, because I think when you asked me earlier, maybe this is before the interview had started, but you signed so many NDAs before you record anything, and invariably you don't know that you're always using a working title. So very often you don't know what the hell you're working on. I mean, when Harry Potter's face crops up, you go, "Oh, right, we're doing Harry Potter today." But invariably, so it's very easy to then forget what you're working on, because you're just going, "All right, here's a market scene. Here's a market scene and Olivia Colman's in it." And you go, "Well, that narrows it down to no film at all."
50 films.
Yeah, exactly. So I was in Flushed Away, but it's going to be rabbits racing around a field and having parties and on a ski slope or whatever, the varying things that rabbits end up having to do. And if that in fact was Flushed Away. I think there were rabbits in that one.
No, maybe there were. I can only think of the rats in the sewers, but you might be right.
Oh, it's rats in sewers. There was another one. There was another one with rabbits. Not Watership
Yep.
Down. There was another one. Yes, it would have been a rat. It would have been a rat. Yeah, something like that.
Could I just jump in there, just to backtrack a bit? What brought you to Australia for that year?
Love, but not anymore.
The long story, Dwayne.
It's a it
Best of a bottle of red.
Yes, exactly. I need to start it's all right, I've got some in here. I had backpacked in Australia and New Zealand, as all young Brits do, and loved it. And actually it was part of a year's backpacking, and as part of that year's backpacking I took the Trans-Siberian train, and on the Trans-Siberian train I met an Australian, and we ended up moving to Australia before he then moved to the UK. But I loved it, it was really amazing to come back, actually, because I'd lived in Melbourne. A great friend of mine who I'd met in a hostel. I used to have a fear of flying, so I used to drink. At airports, regardless of the time. So it might have been 6 a.m. and a few shots of vodka. And when I was flying from New Zealand to Melbourne, I had some. Let's say I was hungover by the time I got to a hostel in Melbourne at 9 o'clock in the morning, or something ridiculous. And I walked in, and a very smiley woman was also in this dorm room, and she's now one of my old friends. So and there's lots of friends in Sydney as well, lots of new friends, lots of old friends. So so it's not just love that brought me back there, but that was partially it. Yeah, but I also lived in New Zealand as well for a year, and that was as part of that same relationship. But his work took us to New Zealand, where I ended up getting a voiceover agent, and it was, I was able to have a work permit there, so I was able to do voiceover work in New Zealand, which was great. I would have loved to have been able to do that in Australia, actually. I think there's a bit more of a market. But
it's interesting, because I was listening to your show reel of some of your voiceover work, and there was some Australian accent there. So do you feel that you're qualified to do some Australian, having lived here for some time?
Well, I did do a commercial for Australia. What was it? It was for Australia. What the hell was it for? The name's just gone. It was for Energy Australia, and it was all Australians on the voiceover and me. So, although maybe there was one person who wasn't an Australian. Oh no, that was a different job. I remember a job where we were all asked to do Kiwi, but they needed people who are expert in Kiwi, and I said, well, who's more expert than Kiwis? Could they maybe use them? Apparently not. And when I turned up saying, I did live in New Zealand and I can give it a good old go, quite fairly happily. And I said to somebody else who told me that they were a voice coach, I said to somebody else, how are you feeling about doing Kiwi? And he said, oh, it's fine. It's basically Australian. And I thought, no, it isn't.
No, it isn't.
It's really not. So my rule with accents is, as long as you're doing them for people who aren't of that accent, then you're really good at them. And if you are, then it's...
Okay, what's your trick for picking up, starting an accent or starting a voice? Because I do know you have one.
I do have a little trick. And when I talked about this before, I've thought about it, and I gave you really bad examples, and I don't think I've improved my examples, but it's the thinking sounds. Is quite a posh one. Is how Americans might, on a standard American. Is Liverpudlian. Is quite Australian. So it's the kind of the in-between sounds is where you start.
So do you want to give us one? Give us one or two examples then. Go on, you can do it. I've heard you do. I know you can.
Oh no, I don't know. It's really embarrassing because any experience I've had of anyone saying, "Can you do an accent?" they always go, "All right," and that's sorry, and that's oh right, and people pay you to do that. Yeah, of course they pay you to do that. I'm not. I'm very nervous to do it. If I do know some little tricks, well, actually, no, I'm.
I've heard you do this, and you were superb. So you're just doing garbage now.
Well, I had to say, Energy Australia, can I help you? I don't know if that's a hybrid between my own accent. I'm not going for it fully. I find it actually mortifying. I don't know why.
Do your Yorkshire?
A Yorkshire accent. Well, oh God, this is really embarrassing. I don't know. I'm actually right. Let's try and go around. Let's try and move around with it. Okay. So if you're going to Scotland, you're going to be up here. It depends what you're saying. And then Liverpool, it all depends. It's also about pitch and things like that. And then if you're going London, then it's like, all right, mate, do you know what I'm saying? And end of the day, yeah. Also, well, if you're going Bristol, then you're going to talk a bit more like that. And Wales, I don't really do a good Welsh accent, to be honest with you. It always ends up in Mumbai. And Yorkshire, it's no, I don't know. I mean, this is really embarrassing. Anyone that's watching, I can only say I'm really sorry for just offending people around the UK. It's really
I think that's pretty impressive. I don't know what you're going about. Much too hard on yourself.
I used to watch All Creatures Great and Small, so I used to love the words that they used in Yorkshire. Like, can you do out about it, Miss Harriet? You know, I love that kind of
out about it.
Those kind of words. Yeah.
Can you do out? Yeah. Well, it's much easier with a script and an intention and some. Yeah. It's
sorry. I mean, it's totally rude of us to doing an audio podcast about audio work to ask you about audio stuff. So I apologize for that.
You're so cheeky. You're so cheeky. I don't know why it's so embarrassing. It always is. Normally it prompts people to do a flurry of better accents than I've just done. That's normally what it yields. It's normally a humiliating experience start to finish. Whereas if you're actually in the recording studio, you can I don't know, you can somehow get away with it.
Looking through your show reels on your website, I noticed the animation work that you do. So can you explain to us how it works? What happens? Whenever I hear of someone voicing animation, I think of scenes in Mrs. Doubtfire where Robin Williams is looking at the screen, and
that's my reference too.
Is that how it works in animation?
That was one of the but that was something that really yes, it is, and it sort of that really ignited me that moment at the start of Mrs. Doubtfire. I just remembered that just being a really exciting idea and thing to do, and he's magical in that moment, isn't he? It's a mixture of things. It depends. So sometimes there's all of you if you're doing an animation, sometimes there's all of you in the cast or in that scene at the same time. That's the most fun. You might be on the same microphones, or you might be you might share microphones, or you might be in the same studio, or it might be individual booths where you can all hear each other. But sometimes, which is the least fun, is where it's just you and you just record all your lines by yourself, and that it happens, and it's just so much fun when there's all of you, and it's less fun when you have to do it by yourself. And sometimes sometimes they've already recorded the other part, in which case you're reading along with the other part. Sometimes you're the first person to record, so you really are recording to nothing very much unless somebody's reading in with you. And sometimes sometimes the animation hasn't been finished, so sometimes they're going to base the animation around what you're saying, and sometimes you're going to be doing it as a dub. That's my favorite, is when, you know, if the character's mouth is going really huge at one point, then you're going to have to really give it some welly if you've just tripped over a big stone or whatever it would be that you need to. They're all brilliant. I think that it's a real mixture. I did a voiceover for an animation where they didn't want the character to speak. They just wanted some sounds, and it was a sort of line drawing, really, and maybe a 15-minute animation. And it was a line drawing, really, really pared back, really simple. And they just wanted some little sounds, just some and tiny, tiny little gulps and little moments. And when they put it on, it was it really brings it to life. So it's so exciting. And the other one that I really love doing is video games. And those are so structured. So, you know, they might book you for an hour and a half, and it might be a character. So examples that I've had would be a character whereby they say, okay, this character, we need all the reaction sounds. So it'll be she trips over a stone. Like it might just be a tiny sound. She trips over a big stone. She trips over a massive rock. She trips over a massive rock and falls on the floor. She trips over a massive rock and falls slightly off a bit of a ledge. She trips over a massive rock, falls over a ledge, but it's a 2-meter drop. And then the drop gets bigger. So you're seeing on the screen that you're seeing on your script the meters, the size of what you're tripping over, the size of what you're working with, and how far you're traveling or how fast you're traveling. And they give you distances, and that is absolutely brilliant because you really can make the difference between somebody like, or they're like, oh no, you've fallen too far at that point. You know, she's probably only fallen 2 meters, and you're like, oh sorry. It's really like, it's so measured, and that's really great. It's really, it's lovely building up those kind of little.
That takes me back to my Tomb Raider days. All those.
Oh yeah. Well, that's exactly. There's so many of those, so many reactions, and they just sort of build up these libraries of reactions, and then obviously can place them where they want to. So it's a really varied approach as to how they record it, and it's exciting, really exciting.
You played Luna Lovegood in the video game, so in terms of, did you go back and reference what the actress playing Luna sounded like in the movies, yes, or were you just do your own?
She was up here. I think you had to be really close up to the microphone, and it had to be in here somewhere. It was really, really tiny sound.
And the reason why I got that job is because they'd actually cast me as Harry Potter. And then I got into the studio and they went, no, sorry, can you do your Harry Potter? And I said, this is what I did in the recording. And they were like, oh, that doesn't work at all. And then they said, can you do Hermione? And I tried, and she's one I can't do. I can do lots of impersonations and things. And I can't find her timbre, apart from when I've done her screams, but I can't find her timbre. And then Luna, I got Luna.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, it's varied. It's really varied. Computer games are great fun to do.
Would they ever actually approach the actress who played the movie, or is she just too expensive, so therefore they go for...
Probably too expensive.
Yeah,
I would have thought so, because wasn't it like Keely Hawes did Tomb Raider, for example, rather than Angelina Jolie?
Wow, that's not bad either.
Is that right?
Yeah, I think she did it for years. Yeah. And then actually, she used to do Sheba commercials, and then I ended up doing them. So, you know, if you can't get your own jobs, you've got to steal them.
Coming soon from Big Finish Productions, Doctor Who: The Companion Chronicles. The Memory Cheats.
What time is it? How long have I been... 47 days into cycle. I'm Jen. I'll be your defense assistant today.
The garment you're holding. Can I see? But the woman wouldn't share her precious rag. It was all she had left of her child.
The company says either you're pretending not to remember, or the memory loss is related to guilt and stress, a sign of your unstable character.
I stepped from the TARDIS into the hot, dusty street. We'd landed in the shade of a double avenue of trees.
That leaves 36 charges, including sedition, extortion, and threats to personnel. Computer says go straight to plea bargain.
And this officer, what does he look like? The waiter rolled his eyes. Well, he hasn't arrived yet. Then, how do you know I'm not him? You think I travelled in time.
We have evidence showing you did.
He saved the rest of us. Pointed his gun at the sleeping children. What?
Subscribers get more at bigfinish.com.
Now, let's talk about some Big Finish stuff, because we need to get to eventually. So your first Big Finish was back in 2002, I think. You did your first recording.
It would, 2003.
It came out. I think it came out 2003. But I think you record. Oh no, you did. So it's July 2003.
We did it in 2003 because it was. It's where the nepotism began, where I had gate crashed. You may be familiar with this, where I'd gate crashed a convention with Mum in Australia, and
I was there.
It's the Sydney one. We only did.
Yes,
No,
I was at that one.
well, I was.
So we
there
had
in-
met before. With the helpers
had
for
met
that went out for
before.
dinner after, and we were all around the table together. So yeah, I did meet you all those
That
years
was-
ago.
That was 2003, and
Yep.
Debs was there, wasn't she? And no,
No, it was Janet.
that was 2013. Yeah, that was Janet, and obviously Fraser was there too. I think I'm getting two of them confused. Yeah. So, but off the back of that, that's where discussions about Big Finish first came in, and
Was Gary
and
Russell there, or you
Gary
just
Russell
talking-
was there. He was
Right.
there, and then he directed that first one that I did. He got me in for the first one that I did. Yeah.
Okay, so that was Master, which it was interesting because it's a trilogy of villain plays, which your mum's actually in one of them, but not this one.
Is she? We really should discuss these things more.
Oh yeah, it was all you and your mum don't talk about anything. That's pretty obvious. Yeah, so she was the Davros one, and you were in the Master one. And I mean, in terms of casting, I mean, what an amazing cast. I mean, aside from Sylvester, who's amazing, but
Yeah.
Jeffrey Beavers, Philip Maddock, and Riddler. I mean, just the most amazing cast you're working with.
It was
Um,
really, really amazing.
So, what was it like coming and doing it?
I didn't know it was so. I think again, I just turned up thinking it was just another voiceover job. I'm excited by all the voiceover jobs that I get. You're excited by work, and I didn't know why it would feel as special as it did. Not least because the cast was so amazing and the story was so brilliant. And Jade was an amazing character, and she was creepy, and it was lovely knowing that there was a kind of secret change that character was going to go through. And so it felt really exciting to record, and I couldn't quite believe that Sylvester was in it, and I was absolutely gobsmacked. And I thought I'd been very nonchalant about, oh yeah, Doctor Who's a real snooze fest, and actually there I was and was completely starstruck, really overexcited, and they make for a really homely kind of environment to work in. It's really funny. They feed you very well, as everybody I'm sure will have told you, and it makes for a really fun, really cozy environment, and you kind of crack on through it, but you feel like you get a good run at it. And Gary that directed that one, and he was fantastic. It was really exciting. I got completely gobsmacked. I got completely lost in Sylvester recording. I completely humiliated myself because at one point I was just staring at the through the glass at him as he was recording, and his speech that he was doing got more and more rousing, and it got bigger and bigger. And I was just like that, like, wow, he's incredible. And then when I finally tuned into what he was saying, and he was saying, and if the woman playing Jade would ever read her script and actually say her line, then I will be. I was so mortified. Everyone laughed a lot. And they were all very forgiving. But I was so enamored that I was just looking at him, clearly not listening. And the other thing is that if you've ever caught mention, and I mean, they've changed the studios now, as you may or may not know, but the you're in your different recording booths, and there were these script holders tables, like much like school desks. They looked like school desks because everyone had scribbled on them. And my God, wherever those desks are now, someone's going to sell those at auction for something extraordinary. And so there's a very real opportunity to just want to sit and read the desks of the millions of people that have been in Big Finish, and all these names. I can't believe, it's just amazing how many people they've got in them. And it's such a huge entity, isn't it, Big Finish? I know they've certainly been really good to me, but I mean, it's just amazing how it keeps on going, and how much interest and support it has, and it's brilliant.
Was Joseph Lister the writer there that day?
Yeah, he was. Yeah,
because he was a young man like you were at the same time too.
He was, yeah. And actually, I think I saw him not so long ago. I saw him at a convention last year. It was great. The whole thing felt like a bit of magic. And actually, on the occasion that I do gatecrash a convention, people always ask me about Master. It's one that people really love. It's such a great story. Because also I think it doesn't feel so heavily sci-fi to me. I don't know about you. It feels like it kind of,
it can be done on stage. It's a play. It's a play. Yeah. It's basically set in one room, in a darkened, terrifying house. It feels like a play.
It does, definitely. And it felt like that to record it. I love it. Yeah. It's the only one that I have listened to more than once. Is that terrible to say?
No, that's fine to say.
I think that's right, isn't it? I don't really make a habit of listening to myself, despite how I've made it sound.
Because I love my voice so much, but I don't.
I love.
There's other people there. You don't want to listen to their voices. You just want to listen to yours. All these other voices wreck it for you.
They just ruin it. I don't. Just to clarify, I don't love my voice so much. Like, if I heard my voice on an answering machine message, I wouldn't be like, this guy is great. No, it's really just that one time when I heard myself not getting a job for Toyota that I was really, really liked the sound of my own voice.
Mm-hmm. So what do you come back in 2008? What years are you in Australia and away for? Is that when you come?
I was in for conventions or living?
Or living.
So I lived in Australia 2009, 2010.
Okay. So your next return to Big Finish isn't until 2008, when you come and steal your mother's part.
So that had already happened.
So what was it like coming and recording the 7 Keys to Doomsday, which, as I said, was your mother's role on stage, and you stole it from her?
Yes, I did. And I'd do it again in a heartbeat. She wouldn't let me. My dad, I have many siblings, and my dad, one of my dad's one of my brothers on my dad's side, that's not mum's. He has cerebral palsy, and I reference this because it meant that when he was younger, he was kind of wheelchair bound and had to walk with sticks. He still does walk with sticks. He's in his 20s. He would, despite some physical disabilities, he'd take you all on and fight you to the death to argue that he is the world's greatest Doctor Who fan. And I was at his when I got a phone call about 7 Keys to Doomsday, and said, "Oh, Josh, you might be interested in this. I have been asked to do a big finish." And he was really excited. And he said, what big finish, and who's going to be in it? And he was very excited. And I said, it's called 7 Keys to Doomsday. Now, for a boy who was a teenager at the time who couldn't walk, he then ran up 3 flights of stairs to go to his TARDIS bedroom, where he produced an original script of 7 Keys to Doomsday, or a copy of the script, and raced back down the stairs to say, I've got it. This is what it was in, and it starred, and then started name Trevor Martin and Wendy Padbury played such and such. And I said, well, Josh, do you know that that's my mum? And he dropped the script and said, I don't, hang on, I don't know what you mean. I said, yeah, that's my mum. And he said, but then that means that your mum is Zoe. And I said, yeah. And I don't really, meanly knowing how much of a Doctor Who fan was, I don't know how we hadn't got to this point before. And he had to sit down. He didn't really know what to do himself. He couldn't quite believe it. And he couldn't quite believe I was going to play this part. Anyway, I thought that was such a great encounter. And then off I did, and I went and recorded, and I had a lovely time, met Trevor Martin. The whole thing was really great. Job done. And it wasn't until about a year and a half later that Mum said, when the hell did you steal my job? I said, what are you talking about? And she said, 7 Keys to Doomsday. I said, oh God, Mum, I did that ages ago. And she said, well, it was sent to me and I listened to it in the car, and there's your voice doing my part. I said, oh yeah, sorry about that. What I didn't do, what I feel like I should have done, is try to do an impersonation of Mum, because I noticed that I forget how high-pitched Mum was, and sometimes I didn't really think about it when I watched her aged 14, but now I watch her, realise that Mum's terribly, terribly high-pitched, and I wish I'd done it in this sort of 19... I wish I basically...
I'm glad you didn't. I'm so glad you didn't.
I wish I had. It would have really, really, just for my own amusement. Gosh, Doctor! I would have liked to have done that. I did not.
Here's our seats, Jimmy. Hurry up, it's nearly time to start.
Who are you? And what are your names?
Jenny Wilson.
Jimmy Forbes. And what I want to know is...
How do you do? Very pleased to meet you. I'm the Doctor.
Doctor? Doctor who?
If you like.
The reactor must be recaptured and the rebels destroyed immediately. Has the Doctor been found? Not yet, Your Majesty. Order the guards to redouble their vigilance. The Doctor must not succeed in entering the base.
Who is this Doctor? Where did you meet him?
Why did he come to Khan?
He was after some kind of crystals. Said they were important.
I seek knowledge of the crystal of all power. What is its purpose? Why has it been divided and the smaller crystals hidden?
Knowledge of the crystal of all power is forbidden. Any who seeks it must be killed. You and your companions must be destroyed.
The success of our mission is far more important than the life of any one of us. Whatever happens to us, the Daleks must not get hold of the crystal of all power.
Stay where you are, or you will be exterminated!
I appear to be surrounded. It's almost as if you were expecting me.
Indeed we were, Doctor. This is your final defeat. From now on, the Daleks will rule supreme in the universe.
Now, where's my sonic screwdriver?
Well, maybe in 10 or 15 years' time, Big Finish may want you back, because, they've got a habit of casting daughters into their parents' roles later on in life.
Yes, exactly right. Exactly.
Yeah, so just say, Mum, after you've passed in 15, 20 years' time, can I have your role then?
I've already asked. I said, can I just steal all your jobs when you're done? She was just like, well, no, there's probably someone better out there. I was like, all right, Mum. All right, cheers. Thanks for that. But, maybe my sister do a better job.
So
Very
having done a couple of big cast productions, you then came and just worked solo with Lisa Bowerman in the Benny Summerfield and the Criminal Code story. Do you remember doing the Companion Chronicle? What was it like in terms of just the two of you? And that's a very tight two-hander.
We were both nervous, actually, because there's so much, I think the same with all things to do with Doctor Who, from my experience, is that it's very easily wonderfully light-hearted, and it's people always talk about how much love there is, and there's great humor that runs through the scripts and that runs through the whole atmosphere, the whole environment, every convention, every panel, every part of it. Although there's kind of deep-seated adoration, love, and sort of yearning that people have for their love of Doctor Who, there's real humor that runs. Everyone is able to sort of take the mickey out of each other, and there's a real lightheartedness to it. And that needed to just pause just for a second when Mum and I were kind of, we'd made lots of jokes about the fact that ha ha ha, what it'll be like, and then we actually had to work together. It was nerve-wracking, actually. It was nerve-wracking, and it was really exciting. And I think you want to do a good job, and it's quite exposing when you've got family there. So it just adds a different dimension. So maybe we weren't so nervous going in to actually record it, but when we first got it, we took it seriously, and we read it through a couple of times together at home. And Lisa Bowerman is really brilliant. She really puts you at your ease, because actually it's nerve-wracking. All of it's nerve-wracking, to be honest. And Lisa's brilliant, and she's really good at when you do something really badly. She's really good at making you feel like it wasn't that bad, but let's do it again. And so you got through it, and it was great, and it was really really nice to see. I think it's kind of, when your mum's mum, and so she's parent in terms of, as a younger person, parent, adult, and then she was my agent. She was all of these sort of authority figures, and then you put yourself in a position whereby you're sort of equals, and it's I think it makes you a bit vulnerable temporarily, and then we just got on with it and had fun.
I mean, the two stories you do with your mum, The Memory Cheats and The Uncertainty Principle, both written by Simon Guerrier, who was just a master of writing these two-hander plays. Have you met Simon at all?
Yes, I have, and he was great, and they were really good. Sometimes I find sometimes I feel really stupid when I'm reading the really heavily sci-fi scripts, because I just don't have enough context. I just think I think he wrote them really beautifully, and I think they read really well, and they were really engaging to do. They were really fun to do, and then, like I say, Lisa wrote, Lisa finds nuance in there that Simon wants us, that Simon wants you to have, and but that also that maybe Mum and I wouldn't have spotted, and it's great. It works. That's why they work so well, because it's a good listening experience, and it's really great ones to do. We loved it. I'd like to do more with Mum, actually.
Should
Other than just going to the supermarket with Mum.
Maybe do some writing yourself. Write something for you both. Now you've worked with all sorts of Doctor Who roles, because you did the Gallifrey series, working with lots of the big names of Doctor Who. You did work with your mum again, and Fraser Hines in Lord of the Red Planet, The Lost Story. And you've worked with Katie Manning. You've also done a Jago and Lightfoot with
I loved doing Jago and Lightfoot. That was lovely. They're just all really nice environments, including the ones I can't remember.
So Lisa Bowerman's actually directed you quite a bit, hasn't she, along the way?
Yeah.
You're still waiting for some more stuff to come out, which is exciting. So we look forward to that being announced, whatever that is.
I loved that. And I do really, really remember that. And the cast was amazing. And it was in a different studio. It wasn't in a London studio, so it was to travel out to it, which was quite fun. And yes, it felt like working with Doctor Who Gold. It was another one where I was just really really overexcited, and an impersonator in it that I really love. And
Well,
yeah,
when it comes out, we'll maybe talk to you some more about that one in particular. Now, of course, your main career now, you seem to have a dual career. I know one of them is that you do a lot of voiceover work wherever you can. Do you want to talk briefly about what your other line of work is?
my other one that I do is I look for Disney princesses for Hong Kong Disneyland and Shanghai Disney Resort, and most recently Disney Cruises. Yeah, it's in casting. We audition lots of singers and dancers in an amazing process that I don't really know. I don't think I could do it myself. Where you turn up, you queue for hours, and then you go in, and in 2 minutes you're a yay or a nay, and it's a really brutal process, but people are absolutely amazing. It's extraordinary how much people really love Disney, and they want they can have extraordinary experiences going to these places.
So these are open casting calls that anyone can turn up.
A mixture. Some of it's done through agents. I do a day through agents, and then we do it twice a year. In this case, it'll be 3 times this year. Yeah, so you're auditioning. A friend of mine is the head of Disney Entertainment. He's the one. Well, when I spoke to him on Zoom a couple of days ago, he showed me his Emmy for all his work to do with the Muppets, films, and he contacted me about 10 years ago and said, "You're a casting director, aren't you?" And I said, "No." And he was like, "Oh, brilliant. Do you want to cast for Hong Kong Disneyland?" And I said, "Well, no, not really. I don't know anything about musicals. I don't know anything about Disney, and I'm not a casting director." And he said, "Thank you so much. I'll put you in touch with the Hong Kong team. Bye, 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 bye." And then and that was him gone. Of course, by the time I spoke to Disney, I was like, yeah. The thing about casting is, the thing I've always said about Disney casting as well, particularly, and being such a knowledgeable person about musicals, I really wanted to. Anyway, here I am, 8 years later, still doing it.
And now you get to smash the dreams of hundreds of girls.
Oh God,
So when you cast somebody, how long do they usually stay on? Is there like a turnover? Why are you continuing to cast these people?
The woman that's our choreographer, she did 5 years. They go for 6 months, and then they have the opportunity to audition again in Hong Kong. And
they have to audition again.
Well, things can change. Yeah, they can. Yeah, people. Yeah, people change, and they need to go through the process again. And so yeah, it's hard. It's really tough. It's really, really tough. And I think it feels like it gets tougher because I think the world now of self-tape, it's 2 extremes. It's either open audition or it's self-tapes. There seems to be something really missing in terms of a real face-to-face kind of getting to know somebody. I mean, when I was auditioning a lot, it was a 10-15 minute meeting, and you got a bit of build up, and now the kind of immediacy of it, or the lack of kind of human contact it's really tricky. I think it's really hard. When I did The Wizard of Oz, I was offered Dorothy off the back of having done this J.B. Priestley play, which I wasn't actually singing in, so that was risky. But it feels tough, but it feels tougher now, maybe. Well, it's certainly tougher for me. I certainly not getting in front of people in the way that I used to.
Your dad said, "Run away, run away."
Oh yeah, he said, yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's absolutely right, and he's yeah, but he's still plugging. He's still plugging away himself. He's 89. He just finished his autobiography. We've all 400 pages of it, and he's been writing that for the last 38 years. And it's a slog. And I think, as Mum and Dad have both talked about, when they both first started, it was you'd audition for something, and then you might be contracted for 3 years to something, or it would be a selection of contracts under one. If you were with the BBC, then you get to stay with them for a certain amount of jobs or whatever it would be. It doesn't. There isn't that sort of opportunity now. It's really hard. So yes, I don't want to say Dad's right. Dad's probably quite right. Yeah.
I mean, even a hit series now is something on Netflix, which is 6 or 8 episodes, which they don't renew till after they've played it, and the next series doesn't come out for another 18 months or 2 years. So even those who seem to be in big hits are only doing minimal work between those shows.
Yeah, it's so true. Yeah, really true. I think it's really tough. I think you have to try and create your own stuff. It's difficult. It's really difficult.
So what are you looking forward to in the future? What's the future hold for Charlie Hayes?
Well, that's a good question. I would really, on that same topic, I'd really, really like to write something. I think it's I don't quite know how to edge my way back into it in a way that I would really love to, but writing feels like it might be the way for me. So that's something that I quite look forward to doing, and actually was only looking into how I go about writing something today. So that's something I think I'd really like to explore. And then more voiceovers to keep me ticking over, which I love. I'd love to get back on TV. Stage really frightens me. I did a play about 7 years ago, which was the first time in a long time, and I was really terrified. I stood in the wings and thought, I could just leave, and what's anyone going to do? That was the most terrifying thought. And then you feel the heat of the audience when you walk on stage, and it's really exciting, and it's really terrifying. So but I miss it. I really, really miss it. So battling on and trying to keep on plugging away. That's it.
Well, we'd love to know what you've done. We look forward to still stuff to come out, and hopefully a lot more work in the future. So
thank
Charlie,
you
for
so
joining
much.
us.
It's so nice to speak to you, even if I didn't do much voiceover work for you that you were maybe hoping.
Maybe in the future.
Maybe I'll do you an advert. Maybe I should record you a trailer. Anyway,
thanks, Charlie.
Thank you very much. No problem. It's so nice to see you.
Coming soon from Big Finish Productions. Doctor Who: The Lost Stories. The Lords of the Red Planet.
People of Gondor, this is the hour of life drink. Return to your places of rest, so we may process the delivery and you may live.
Somewhere deep within the bowels of the underground city of Gondor, a huge creature was screaming in agony.
Zadur and her insane dreams of conquest. But for her, I could cease his experiments.
High above on the planet's surface, the impossible time and spacecraft known as the TARDIS had materialized.
The famous Red Planet.
Mars? But isn't that the home of the, you-know-whats? Well, yes, maybe, but we're back in the past. The early days of your solar system. They can't have evolved yet. You've nothing to worry about.
My princess, your life is in danger.
Please, I am beloved by my people. Who would wish to harm me?
Zadur would.
You think she'd hurt me?
I know she would. She is a monster, a dictator who adores her own reflections and loathes her own people for failing to match her perfection.
Beautiful. Don't you see it? You can almost feel his power by looking at him. His strength. Aslo.
A name suitable for a warrior, for a god. People shall know that name soon, Quendril. People shall fear it.
I'm sorry, Doctor. I couldn't watch anymore.
There was a sudden explosion of twisted metal as the airlock door behind them was wrenched apart and a huge creature stepped through. Ice Warriors! But how? And without further words, it fired at Zoe.
Find the Doctor and kill him. Find the Doctor and kill him.
Big Finish. We love stories.
Well, as always, it's lovely to chat with our guests, and Charlie was a wonderful one.
Yes, she's done some great stuff. I'm hoping she comes back and does some more, which is a lot of fun.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, so let's round off the episode this week with some of what we've been listening to or enjoying.
Do you want to go first,
entertainment-wise.
Dwayne?
Well, I would. Let me just check my list. There it is. It says, it says it's your turn, Philip.
My turn. Okay, I'll go first then.
Yeah.
I'm going to recommend the Paternoster Gang. I think a couple of weeks ago, I think I mentioned I discovered an old Paternoster box set that I hadn't listened to. I totally missed it. And I listened to it a couple of weeks ago, really enjoyed it. It ended up a great cliffhanger, which I thought, oh, fantastic. I'm looking forward to seeing how the cliffhanger is resolved. Went into the 3 new episodes. So this is box set, so season 2.2, called Trespassers 2, the Casebook of Paternoster Row. So I was all set to see how were they going to fix up the cliffhanger, and they didn't do it. So the 3 episodes are 3 flashbacks. So Madame Vastra realizes that she's picked up there's something wrong from what the cliffhanger was in terms of one of the characters in trouble. She's aware of something wrong, and so she's thinking that maybe in past cases she can work out what's gone wrong and she can solve it out. So she delves into 3 past cases all about double gangers. No Russians, but other different sorts of double gangers, and 3 previous cases that they've had to dealing with identical people and what's going on with them. And she's trying to work out what's going on with Jenny and the situation. So 3 great stories. Tom Baker is in one of them, which is so it's just a great lot of fun. Stories by James Kettle, Gary Russell, Stuart Pringle, and Laura Mooney did one together. So great to hear Gary Russell writing again. James Kettle.
It's been a while since we've heard anything from James Kettle.
It has been a while since James Kettle did anything, so it's really good to hear something from him again. It is funny. I mean, he's a comedy writer, and there's parts of it he just goes for it, but there's a bit of tension there too. I really love this group of people. It's just fun, and then it still ends on a huge cliffhanger. So how annoying is that?
So you still got to wait.
Because we still don't know what's going to happen because it's a slightly different cliffhanger, but similar in some ways too. Have you heard these at all? You listened to them?
I haven't heard those ones, no.
Okay.
As yet. Still in my queue.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's fun.
They're my as yet unheard audios.
Yeah, well, they're a lot of fun, so I highly recommend them. What about you, Dwayne? What have you been listening to in your travels in the far west?
Well, I'm just going to fall back on something easy, something I've already mentioned, and it's Baby Reindeer, because I like it when I stumble across bingeable shows. They're not, this is, as we said, definitely not for the kiddies, this one. It's got some very dark themes in it, but I think it handles them very well and in a very interesting way. Keeps you riveted all the way through. There's lots of different things, because not only do you have, because I don't think there's any, everyone's got issues in this story. Yeah. So the main guy, the comedian who's getting stalked, he's not without faults as well, and he really goes into looking at what's behind his motivations for doing things as well, and ends up going back into his past and some really heavy things happening there, really heavy things. So it's a fascinating story. Whether it's all completely true, I don't know. But
it's an unexpected hit. It's been fascinating to watch, because certainly Netflix didn't expect it to be this big. And once again, it's social media has really caught it. I mean, the first 2 episodes are lots of fun and lighthearted, and then it gets dark. And I've never seen a warning come up. I think it's episode 4 with a real warning of, this is a really awful episode. Be warned. Don't
major trigger warning. Yeah,
major. Like I've never seen anything like that, and it was right. in terms of it is very dark, very disturbing, really awful, that episode.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it really is not suitable for all people, but it really was quite fascinating. It shouldn't be saying this is a true story because it's not. I mean, it's based on a true story, but everything that's not accurate. I mean, they've changed names and things, but yeah, it's a fascinating watch. And as I said, it's raised a real storm because if the BBC wouldn't produce something like this, where you could work out who the characters are, who the real people are, it would keep them better hidden. And as soon as it was bizarre, because I mean, I've actually watched the Piers Morgan interview, but I saw her on screen before I knew who she was. And as soon as I saw her being interviewed, I went, that's the real person. Because they have cast someone, who was in Doctor Who, by the way, they've cast someone almost identically. So it's a really, really,
what role did she play in Doctor Who? I can't remember.
She was in the Oedipus episode, and she gets dissolved.
Oh,
on Donna's banging on the door. That's her.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Wow, that was years ago.
That was a long time ago.
Okay.
So so it's.
She's a great actress.
It is, and the trouble is too. There's another character that people are trying to work out who he is. And there's at least one person there.
They falsely named someone else who was getting stalked and everything.
Okay, well, I didn't hear whether it was false or not. I mean, I've had people say to me, "Oh, that's obviously this person." But once again, there's no proof for that, and so. But I think that there's a real danger of people, inappropriately being stalked, harassed, picked on, attacked, because Netflix. Really
but all they had to do at the start was put. This is based on a true story, not this is a true story. Just that one little line has caused a lot of trouble, I think.
It really has. And because they cast her almost identically, they're now people, that's why this other the director, they're looking at pictures of who they've cast, and therefore they've picked on someone and saying, well, this must be the same director. He's a director writer about the same age, he looks the same as the cast actor. So and so, and I said, I don't know whether it's a person or not, or you're saying it's definitely not. I don't know, but it's just, people are just rife with speculation, and you shouldn't be able to do that. It's inappropriate for a show to do that. And then once again, Netflix just hasn't got the care. As the BBC, there's no way, or the ABC, there's no way those stations would do that because they get sued. But Netflix just doesn't care. I think it's going to be interesting to see what it does to Netflix down the track in terms of choices that they make. But if you've got a strong stomach, it's interesting.
Yep. Well, that's what I've been watching, and maybe I should listen to a few things next time.
Maybe you should.
All right. That'll do for this installment. It's been wonderful to be in your company, Philip.
And yours as always too, Dwayne.
Oh, thank you. We'll catch you all next time.
Bye, everyone.
This has been the Sirens of Audio episode 198, Mum, Dad and the Business, with our guest Charlie Hayes and your hosts Philip Edney and Dwayne Bunny. Theme music by Joe Kramer. More about us at sirensofaudio.com. Comment below to give us your feedback or contact us via email at sirensofaudio@gmail.com or by using any one of our socials using the handle @AudioSirens. Thanks for listening, audiophiles. We'll hear you next time.